meeting. It's not the first time we meet around these days. And I think that the message was very clear. I regret, as some of my colleagues already said, that instead of giving clear-cut replies to the most burning issues, the Russian side was very evasive. We heard many times in recent days that Russians allegedly withdraw. Neither our intelligence nor the intelligence of our partners can verify and calibrate this information. Instead, the intelligence services insist that the Russians boost up their military presence along the borders.
And the Deputy Foreign Minister also said that Russian troops have not increased, which is what U.S. Has said and other ally countries have said. Do you think that, as far as you know, have the Russian troops increased in recent days?
I can say what my leadership said repeatedly this morning until I came in the chambers, that we have no information that would be credible to substantiate or to calibrate the Russian statements about the withdrawal.
And do you see an imminent invasion as the U.S. does?
We see a hanging threat over us. It's been hanging since the last year when the initial build-up of the troops began. And let me remind you what happened last year when there was an initial phase of the build-up, and then the Russians said, we are withdrawing, effectively leaving most of the troops there. Nevertheless, the collective Western collective world sighed with relief that the Russians allegedly withdrew, which was not numerically the case.
Mr. Master, do you have any additional requests to the U.S. and allies in terms of military support and other forms of support?
We are in continued conversations with the governments of our partners with respect to assisting us to strengthen our defense capabilities. So it's an ongoing process, and the countries that are our partners do supply necessary defensive weapons and ammunition.
Are they doing enough?
It's very difficult to say, but it is also clear that the army of Ukraine of 2022 is nothing compared to the army of Ukraine that was almost non-existent in 2014.
Ready for negotiations with Russia?
We are always ready to negotiate. I need to say what my president said and my foreign minister said, and I said myself, that my president always insists that he would like to sit down with Putin himself and have conversations with him. My foreign minister says that he would like to sit down with Lavrov and have conversations with him. Secretary General, in fact, asked me if I would sit down with Nebenzia, but Nebenzia, either because he has some issues or because he doesn't really want to sit down with me, we never had conversations with him. So I can confirm that the Ukrainians are always at standby for meaningful negotiations that are meaningful, that are not just a pretext to procrastinate and then to find reasons to attack Ukraine.
So, Ambassador, you don't have any preconditions to talk to the Russians?
It's Russians who have preconditions, you see. It's Russian lines, it's Russian insistence on the things that are rejected not only by the Ukrainians, but also, from what I know, by other participants of the talks, including in the format of Normandy 4.
Ambassador, in the best case scenario, will diplomacy resolve the current tensions, or will it just postpone it to a later date?
It is the joint responsibility of every single country here in the United Nations. You know, so it is our joint effort this time, and I am very encouraged by response I hear from many ambassadors that they sincerely believe it is the issue of concern to everyone. So it's not like between Washington or Moscow, or between Ukraine and Russia.
Will you please, Secretary Blinken came today?
It is a very important, well, first of all, it is symbolically important, but it's also very important in terms of substance. And I need also to repeat what my colleague, Ambassador of the United States said, that his yesterday's statement on Duma's decision is very powerful. It is very short, but it contains a very clear position. I think with Russians, when you deal with Russians, it's very important to make statements short, because otherwise they read too much between the lines and invent things that are not there in the text. Right?
Ambassador, the Russian mission just submitted documents in which they accuse Ukraine of exterminating civilian population in largely Russian-speaking areas. Why, from your understanding, why the timing of this document right now, and do you think this is a pretext for war?
I'm not a spokesperson for the Russian mission. Ask the Russian mission. The only thing I can say is that Ukraine fully cooperates with everyone on the ground. Ukraine, on its own initiative, not being pressed by anyone, in 2014 invited a special human rights mission from the United Nations that's been operating in Ukraine ever since. We did invite that mission because we believed that any aggression, any military intervention results in a large-scale human rights violations. Therefore, the mission is there. It is an issue, however, whether the members of the mission are allowed to operate in Lugansk and in Donetsk, as well as the issue whether the SMM monitors are enjoying the full freedom of movement. And I think it was very well covered, not only by Ukraine, but also by partners and by the representatives of the OSCE, that the freedom of movement for the monitors is fundamental for the purposes of their quality reporting about what they see. In fact, the situation of this morning once again emphasizes how it is important to preserve the full capacity, operational capacity of the SMM mission in the east of Ukraine. And we are very much thankful to the governments who say that they would not only not withdraw their monitors from the mission, but they will also increase the numbers of the monitors. We cannot allow the mission operate only staffed by the Russians, because otherwise the reporting will not be credible.
Ambassador, do you expect your allies to do more than the sanctions in case of an attack from the Russians?
I'm sure that by the end of the day, responsible members of the international community will assess the situation, will assess the legal framework, and will undertake all necessary measures, because, as I said, it is not an issue just between Washington and Moscow, Russia and Ukraine. It will have far-reaching implications: economic, social instability, markets, everything will be in very deep trouble.
Ambassador, how can you explain the publications in Western media showing some Western fighters fighting from the Ukrainian side at the contact line? What do you make of that?
I don't really get what do you say about what?
How can you comment on the Western media reports showing particularly Western fighters? I mean, the soldiers from the Western countries, particularly UK, fighting
I know many cases when the citizens of European countries being brought to court and were sentenced to many, many years for serving or being mercenaries, in fact, on the territory not controlled by Ukraine. So I refer you to the decisions of the European courts and not necessarily even of our partners. Many European countries brought to justice mercenaries who were fighting on the other side of the contact line. All right?
It's a clear violation of Minsk agreements.
Was that? We were asking something, no?
No, just a thank you, Ambassador.
All right, everything will be fine. Don't worry. See you.